Welcome again to another episode of Sneaks, Runs, and Life. I'm your host, Lionel McDonald. So, yes, as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. But once again, I am in another room in my house. We did a little reshuffling over the last few weeks. So, yeah, I'm in another room. But appreciate you all joining. Welcome again. And I think on today's episode, I am going to share on a hip hop tip, some of my favorite albums that I heard in 2021. I think over the next little while, I'll do a little reflection on 21 as we're already in 22. But here we go. Let me break it down. I'm probably going to go with around 10 albums that I really enjoyed. So I think really in 2020, really got myself familiar with the Griselda Records group and all the things that they're doing. So first on the list, Westside Gunn's Hitler's Where Hermes. That was a banger. If you love Westside Gunn and his flow and just how he sounds, I think all the guys in Griselda sound unique, but that was some really good production on that album. Westside Gunn does what he does. Who knows what is in the future of his career and what he will or how he'll pursue. As we know, the next person I'm in, that's Benny the Butcher, is now been signed. I believe it's Def Jam Records, but definitely a really good effort from Westside Gunn. Next up, and I just mentioned him, would be Benny the Butcher. And with Benny's project, definitely it resonated. I really believe it was with Harry Fraud, the Plugs joint. That was one that came out earlier in the year. Again, really solid production from beginning to end. Definitely had a good vibe with that album. But it really then leads me now to one I didn't know they had kind of an affiliation or they were cool with, but Mac Homie, which I think was, for me, probably the surprise album of the year, and Pray for Haiti. The production is outstanding. It is as good as Westside Gunn's and Benny's album, if not better. Thoroughly enjoyed. Again, I didn't know who these guys were. They've been around for a bit, but I was thoroughly impressed with their Pray for Haiti project. Boldly James and Alchemist connected. Again, Alchemist, a wonderful job again on the production. Was just listening to it again before this podcast started, but I think what drew me to this album was the title, Bo Jackson. So they had an EPMD joint on there. They do connect with some I think Earl Sweatshirt's on there. I think Benny the Butcher's on there on respective tracks, but outstanding effort from Boldly James and Alchemist. So definitely one that resonated with me. I think it was one that kind of carried us through. The mid-year is up next. Is The Off Season by J. Cole. So again, it's one of those things that I think I have with J. Cole albums. They definitely got some tracks on it, but can it carry all the way through? I think KOD is one of the albums, probably the last 4 or 5 projects that I probably enjoyed the most. I can't say it's the best lyrically. It's the one that's resonated with me the most, and probably has definitely gotten the most airplay. But Off Season was definitely a highlight for 2021. Definitely resonated, and I think with all the things that J. Cole was doing between playing basketball and obviously his Puma deal really going into full swing. Definitely, if you didn't check out Off Season, that was one to check. Next on the list, I think I got Vince Staples. Vince Staples, I think it was a self-titled album. Now, I don't know, and I don't know, I didn't know much about Vince Staples, and I definitely see him as an artist with a ton of potential, but you take some time and listen to that album. He's definitely got some real nice wordplay. Really, it's gonna make it be an album that's gonna really cause you to take a step back and think about what's going on out there. So shout out to Vince Staples on that one. Next on my list obviously is and I think because it became such a nice collaboration effort with the Locks and others, you know, Jay and I believe Nas is on it among others. The Exodus, which is DMX's album. You know, Benny the Butcher and other Griselda members definitely got on the project as well. So that was one that hit for me. You know, you know, obviously a really elite producer in Diamond D, and one of my favorite podcast hosts, along with MCs and Talib Kweli, combined it to put out Gotham really late in 21. So I definitely enjoyed that project. It was, you know, I think it's the blend of, you know, I think when I think of, you know, combinations I didn't think of. I think of Buckshot and Ninth Wonder. Never saw them come together. Never thought they would come together, but really put out some outstanding music. And I think you'd find exactly the same thing with Talib and Diamond D. It's one of those, and I think, you know, in an overall perspective, 21 had some really good albums. I just don't know if they were celebrated like the way I think, you know, not that they made my list, but Certified Lover Boy and Donda, both by, you know, respectively Drake and Ye, formerly known as Kanye West. Those are some of the albums that really got a lot of the buzz. But some of these underground albums, like I mentioned, Bo Jackson and Gotham, were definitely some great projects overall. I think I would wrap up and say my two favorite artists, our two favorite albums are actually by the same artist. I didn't expect after the Grammy win and after the follow-up to King's Disease that we would get one so soon. You know, the artist is Nas, for those that don't know, and Nas has really taken time to put projects together, but he's been on a little bit of a roll. And I think King's Disease, you know, with EPMD and Nobody and Storefront and Death Row East, which is a very elaborate song on the conflict with Death Row Records back in the day, and he kind of feels he's able to tell his piece. I think is, in my still opinion, is the album of the year, and I think deserves all the credit for what it was able to do. But I think then if we flip over to the album that we didn't expect to get, we got it the day before Christmas, and in Magic. Lyrically, I think it's more of a throwback to the Nas that you have gotten on some of his earlier projects. It was written, I won't say Illmatic, but I think what's unique is, you know, even Nas calls out that he still gets compared to his earlier projects and not being able to give the opportunity to grow and to experiment. This is what musicians do. This is what artistry and MCing is all about. You know, I'd say Common is another MC that's kind of gone and done so many different ways of doing an album and how it sounds. But definitely Magic and King's Disease are definitely different, but my two favorite albums for the year. And Magic is getting a ton of run, you know, as of late, and King Disease, I literally played it right through the holiday season. So you know, big up to Nas on some of those other that project. You know, Do or Die 2 was one I definitely listened to. Probably didn't love it as much as I think just the hype of how good Do or Die was and the anticipation of a part two. There were some highlights, but wasn't it for me. I think Joel Ortiz came lyrically on the Autograph. Sky Zoo, All a Brilliant Sky was another good album. Evidence, the Unlearning Volume 1 was an outstanding cut, but those would be my 10. Led the way by Nas's two projects in King's Disease and Magic. So thank you again for listening. Much appreciated, and catch you on the flip side. Peace.